Obscure City is a place where you can find many unique dangers. This is where she works, Cassandra Killjoy, paranormal private eye. Now a teenage girl's father has gone missing, and Killjoy believes that the city's enigmatic protector, the swordsman, is the key to finding heaven. So Killjoy must face many deadly dangers in her search for the swordsman. Available on Amazon.com.
Life is like a hurricane, but sometimes it's like a treasure hunt. The question is, what are you hunting for? Adventure, fortune, or the elusive chance to solve a mystery and rewrite history? Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. I'm Erod, and I'm the Blockbuster Buster, and our story begins in the 80s. Cable television provided over 100 new channels and a lot more opportunities for production companies to create programming. One of the few companies that made a strong move towards producing animation for syndicated cable television was Disney. Out of these initial efforts came one monster hit, Ducktales. Based on Carl Barks' classic Uncle Scrooge comic, Ducktales was meant to ride the lightning of the biggest franchise of the era, Indiana Jones. Especially its action-adventure treasure hunting format, which is ironic because it was Carl Barks' comics that inspired the opening temple sequence from Raiders of the Lost Ark. And now that is full circle. Suffice it to say, DuckTales was one of the biggest animated hits of the 80s. A success that led to the creation of the Disney Afternoon, cemented Disney television animation as a major player throughout the 90s, and blazed the trail for all Disney animated shows to this very day. So when it was announced in 2015 that Disney's first animated hit was being rebooted, the announcement was met with a great deal of skepticism. In spite of the fact that respected animation producers Matt Youngberg and Francisco Angones were helming the project, and that the show would feature an all-star cast. Thankfully, all doubts will be put to rest 2 years later when the show premiered.
The plot.
The show picks up 10 years after Scrooge McDuck, the world's richest duck and greatest adventurer, has retired from adventuring, and is now solely focusing on running his many businesses in Duckburg, until the day that his nephew, Donald Duck, leaves Scrooge's grandnephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, in his care, while Donald goes to a job interview. And the three mischievous troublemakers inadvertently reignite Scrooge's passion for treasure hunting and thrill-seeking, so the adventure begins anew.
Reclusive adventure capitalist Scrooge McDuck is back with family in tow, solving mysteries and rewriting history.
Character design and animation.
Most of the show was produced in-house by Disney Television Animation, which is mind-blowing as this is one of the best-looking shows the company has ever produced, and features some of the most impressive sequences you will ever see in an animated program. The characters were designed by Fabian Mensik, who, in spite of giving the characters a more modern stylized look, still managed to retain the overall aesthetic of the original show, as well as give the characters a few design nods to the original comics, such as changing the colors of Scrooge and Donald's costumes to resemble their comic book counterparts.
You can't wear this to your job interview?
Cast and characters.
Once again, this is one of those shows that has a huge cast. So in this section, I'm only going to focus on the main ones and cover the rest as I talk about the seasons. Let's begin with the villains that were there throughout. Starting with Ma Beagle, played by Margot Martindale. She is the matriarch of the biggest, baddest gang in town, the Beagle Boys. The Beagles have held a grudge against Scrooge ever since he won the deed to Duckburg from the original leader of the gang, Grandpappy Beagle, and were left with no choice but to move into the Duckburg junkyard. So the Beagles are always looking for any opportunity to get even, and they have plenty of expendable soldiers to do so. Flintheart Glumgold, played by Keith Ferguson, the second richest duck in the world, and Scrooge's #1 business rival. Glumgold is a single-minded, obsessive-compulsive moron who is very accident-prone. He only has one goal in life, to be better than Scrooge McDuck in every way. More wealthy, more powerful, and more Scottish. Yeah, Glumgold isn't even Scottish, he's South African or something.
Was that in his pocket the whole time?
And now let's talk about the good guys. Oh, I forgot about Mark Beeks. Anyway, the good guys. Donald Duck, played by Tony Anselmo. While in the comics, Donald was Scrooge's primary adventuring partner, that was not the case in the original cartoon, where Donald was only used as a guest star, as the producers were concerned that his unintelligible dialogue would make the show too hard to follow, which is ridiculous as there are plenty of unintelligible characters that still work. But I digress. Thankfully, Matt Youngberg and Francisco Angones didn't see it that way and restored Donald to his original trusty sidekick role. Furthermore, this is the first show to make Donald a fully fleshed out character. That's right, Quack Pack, I said it. We finally find out Donald's motivations, his aspirations, and just why he's so angry.
He loves you so much the thought of anything bad happening to you infuriates him!
Huey, Dewey, and Louie, played by Danny Pudi, Ben Schwartz, and Bobby Moynihan. Yes, Danny Pudi. He's on Ducktales, Larry. While the nephews are among the most popular Disney characters, there really wasn't much to them. They were essentially the same mischievous little boy times 3. Hell, in the original cartoon they were all voiced by the same person, Russie Taylor. So boy was it a relief that in this show, they finally gave them different personalities. That's right, you heard me, Quack Pack.
Who's the evil triplet?
Louie.
Huey is the brains of the bunch, the studious knowledge seeker who wants to go along on adventures for research and historical purposes.
And loved it! No longer unknown, they exist. Science fact!
Dewey is the dreamer, the artist, the one who goes on adventures for the glory and notoriety, so he can finally be seen and admired. That is the reason he's doing it.
Dewey! Let's, gauze for it!
She's doing it.
Louie is a con artist and an opportunist, only interested in the easiest way to make a quick buck, and absolutely hates adventuring, but is still motivated by his greed to come along.
Don't worry, Uncle Scrooge. We'll take this so you don't throw out your old man back. Nice try, lads.
Webby Vanderquack, played by Kate Micucci. Yes, the original DuckTales cartoon was great, but boy could they not write female characters. Outside of Magica the Spell and Goldie O'Gilt, most of the female characters were just awful, especially Webby. Now for those of you who don't know, Webby is not a character from the comics. She was exclusively created for the cartoon to attract that ever-elusive female demographic. And boy was it apparent that this character was created by middle-aged white men. She is a lame, bland, cutesy-wootsy character who's there to nag, make friends with animals, and get captured every other episode. Thankfully, in the reboot, all the female characters were massively improved, especially Webby, whose badass dial got turned up from 3 to 11. In this show, she is the sheltered granddaughter of Scrooge's housekeeper, Mrs. Beakley, who has taught Webby everything she needs to know to survive in the world, including martial arts, espionage, and marksmanship.
If you're not a player, you're a pawn.
But in spite of Webby's amazing skills, sadly, Mrs. Beakley sheltered her so much that Webby ended up with no social skills, making her a permanent outsider. And one of the absolute best parts of the show is watching Webby go from a socially handicapped awkward girl to a fully functioning individual with friends and family.
Oh, you're so dangerous and cute. I just want to pet your little belly.
Scrooge McDuck, played by David Tennant. Not only is David Tennant the first legitimate Scottish person to play Scrooge McDuck, but he's the Doctor!
Oh, time travelers.
I do. I understood that reference. In the original comic and in the original cartoon, Scrooge is just a greedy a-hole, whose only ambition is to get richer, which quite frankly makes the original cartoon a bit hard to watch as an adult. But thankfully they changed that for the reboot. Here, Scrooge is a self-made duck who just loves to win, and there is no bigger win than achieving things that no one has achieved before, like finding lost treasures and solving history's greatest mysteries. Scrooge has done it all. He's traveled to space, other dimensions, magical realms, and through time and space. For this reason, he has maintained his youth for decades, in spite of the fact that chronologically he should be over 100 years old. Hell, even Scrooge doesn't know his actual age. And now, after all the expeditions and all of his achievements, Scrooge plans to take on the greatest adventure of all: family. Before I close out this section, I just want to point out that the original Ducktales cartoon had one of the greatest voiceover casts ever assembled. Alan Young, Terrence McGovern, Chuck McCann, June Foray. So, the fact that the new cast managed to either match or surpass them is beyond amazing.
Did anyone get any of that?
It's mostly context
We
clues.
get like every third word.
Nope, completely unintelligible.
Season 1.
While this show was only 3 seasons long, each season was 23 episodes long, so they would cover a lot in just one season. The DuckTales reboot premiered on August 11, 2017 on both Disney XD and YouTube, with a 2-part pilot. Woohoo! Yes, I sang it. I will not apologize for that. It's fun. Go ahead, try it. Woohoo! The first season is about mending fences and putting the Duck family back together again, which all ties into the biggest mystery in DuckTales lore. Whatever happened to Della Duck, Huey, Dewey, and Louie's mother? Notable characters that were introduced this season include Bentina Beakley, played by Tonks Aligundaye, Scrooge's housekeeper who may or may not be a spy.
Wait, I'm not a spy. Seriously, my catchphrase.
Then there's everybody's favorite incompetent pilot, Launchpad McQuack, played by Beck Bennett, who starts out as Scrooge's driver, but soon graduates to crashing planes with style.
Huh, that was weird. Whew, there we go.
Gyro Gearloose, played by Jim Rash, the mad scientist that Scrooge chooses to keep on the payroll.
Dr. Gearloose!
Don't worry. That was a clone. Okay, that might have been me. None of us really know anymore.
Fenton Crackshell Cabrera, aka Gizmo Duck, played by Lin-Manuel Miranda. Yes, that Lin-Manuel Miranda. Apparently he's a huge Disney Afternoon fan. And guys, I cannot put into word the level of joy and pride that I feel knowing that in this show, Gizmo Duck is Puerto Rican. In this version, Fenton is an aspiring inventor who accidentally connects with one of Gyro's inventions to become Duckburg's protector and the top security guard of Scrooge's money bin, Gizmo Duck.
What are you going to do, Pollito? Cream them.
And then there's Lena, played by Kimiko Glenn, Webby's mysterious and rebellious best friend.
Children, there is an easy way to settle this. Let's go find them ourselves.
Yup, not only did they improve the female characters from the original show, but they added new female characters to the franchise. And on the subject of badass female characters, Goldie O'Gilt, played by the great Allison Janney, Scrooge's treasure hunting rival and his only love interest.
Next time you need some gold in your life, come find me.
As the season progresses, the very mystery that brought the family together ends up breaking them apart, as the nephews discover that the reason their mother went missing is because Scrooge built a spaceship for her called the Spear of Selene, only for Della to take it out for a test drive, crash it, and disappear.
We know about the Spear of Selene.
Let's go back to the marina.
All the while our heroes are distracted by all the family drama, Lena betrays them and steals Scrooge's #1 dime, the first piece of currency he ever earned. And we finally find out why the dime is so important. Because many years ago on Mount Vesuvius, Scrooge trapped his arch-nemesis inside of it, the evil sorceress Magica the Spell, played by none other than Catherine Tate. Yes, David Tennant and Catherine Tate back together again. But you know what's crazy? That they never got to record together, so their amazing chemistry transcends time and space. The season culminates with the epic finale, The Shadow War, where Magica turns everyone's shadows into her own personal army and takes over Duckburg. And it's up to the Duck family and their allies to stop her. And thanks to one of Gyro's inventions, just for this finale, we can actually understand Donald.
Get ready for the storm.
I am the storm.
No, seriously, have you been saying things like that this whole time?
And yes, for those of you who are wondering, that is Don Cheadle doing Donald's cybernetically enhanced voice. Yeah, now that is a good War Machine story. Suffice it to say, this inaugural season is incredible and a vast improvement over what was already a great show. Plus, the finale is beyond epic.
You guys, our family is awesome.
It really seemed like the show had peaked in its first season, but little did we know how wrong we were.
Season 2.
The season takes off by addressing the biggest revelation from Season 1, that Della, played by the wonderful Paget Brewster, didn't die when the Spear of Selene crashed. She survived, minus one leg, and has been roughing it alone on the moon for the past 10 years. Della Duck is a character that is a bit of a legend in Disney lore, so going into the season, the expectations around this character were huge. And I have to say that, honestly, Paget Brewster did not meet those expectations. She surpassed them. Della Duck is a badass adventurer with an unshakable will and determination, who will do anything and everything to get back to her kids.
I'm coming, boys! Mom is coming home!
Inevitably, Della gets back to Earth and her family, but now she must contend with a world that has moved on in her absence, a family that has functioned without her for 10 years, and 3 sons that just don't know her. So most of the season deals with the Ducks adapting to this new family dynamic.
You are grounded. No schemes, no treasures, and Louie Incorporated is done. Understand? To your room.
Notable characters that were introduced this season include Panchito Pistolas, played by Arturo del Puerto, and Jose Carioca, played by Bernardo de Paula, who along with Donald form the Three Caballeros.
We're 3 caballeros, yes, 3 caballeros. They say we are birds of a feather.
Violet Saberwing, played by Liv Bear, Webby's studious, hyperlogical new friend.
You need to sever the rubber leaf at the base.
Yes, thank you. Very ow, much. I knew that. Ow!
Very well. Now eat my dust. That was the smack talking.
And the return of the daring duck of mystery, the terror that flaps, and the hero that quacks, Darkwing Duck. The original version played by the OG himself, Jim Cummings, and the rebooted, younger version played by Chris Diamantopoulos. Now, I did a whole video of Darkwing's involvement in this show and their intentions to spin him off into his own series, which you are free to watch on this channel. Notable episodes include Last Christmas, the series' first Christmas episode, in which Scrooge and Dewey travel back in time to past Christmases, and we get to see Della and Donald when they were kids, the latter of which is played by the original voice of Huey, Dewey, and Louie, Russi Taylor.
So furry out here!
Friendship Hates Magic, where Webby and Violet manage to bring Lena back from the Shadow Realm after the events of Season 1.
You're back!
And Glum Tales, where Glumgold tries to assemble a superior family to Scrooge's, made up of his worst enemies, only to be conned out of their collective wealth by Duckburg's greatest con artist, Louie Duck. Seriously, watch out for that kid.
I win.
The season concludes with the epic 2-parter, Moonvasion, where it turns out that the way that Della managed to rebuild the Spear of Selene was by accepting the aid of the moon's inhabitants, the Moonlanders, who only helped her to learn the Spear's technology, build a fleet of their own, and invade Earth under the leadership of General Lunaris, played by the late great Lance Reddick. This one is huge, requiring the Ducks to assemble all of their allies to ward off the invaders. Things get so severe that Scrooge is forced to seek out the help of the best schemer that he knows.
You all know me, know how I make my living. You don't need a plan. You need a scheme.
Somehow, someway, the creators of this show managed to reset the bar this season. So much so that most of us thought that there was no way that they were going to top themselves again. And then at San Diego Comic-Con 2019, they unveiled this poster. Yeah, shit was about to get real.
Season 3.
After saving the world from shadow demons and aliens, the Duck family becomes a little too high profile. So the world's most powerful terrorist organization sets their sights on them, Fowl, the fiendish organization for world larceny, led by Bradford Buzzard, played by Mark Evan Jackson. who is also the executive vice president of McDuck Enterprises. And he has been keeping an eye on the Ducks from the beginning.
Bradford! Your little adventure fantasy is coming to an end, McDuck.
Notable characters that were introduced this season include Daisy Duck, played by the great Tress MacNeille. I challenge all of you to find a better love story.
What a magnificent union!
Thanks!
Gosselin Waddlemeyer, played by Stephanie Beatrice, Darkwing's trusty young sidekick and his future adopted daughter.
Whoa, look at these high-tech arrow bolts! With your face on them, like your motorcycle. You have a bit of a complex, don't you?
And classic Disney villain the Phantom Blot, played by none other than Giancarlo Esposito. Notable episodes this season include Quack Pack, where our heroes get trapped in a sitcom that pays tribute to a lot of the shows from the Disney afternoon.
Hiya, neighbor!
And that is not where the Disney afternoon references ended this season, as we saw appearances by Darkwing, the Rescue Rangers, Kit Cloudkicker and Molly Cunningham from Tailspin, and Keith David voicing a character extremely similar to Goliath from Gargoyles.
I live again!
There's also Double O Duck in You Only Crash Twice, which is a tribute to the classic Ducktales episode that inspired the creation of Darkwing Duck.
Remember, we say the passcode, win the card game, locate the villain's lair, once there, find the secret weapon, save the world, then we get pizza!
Yes, pizza.
The Drickening, the show's first and only Halloween episode, which has that awesome Friday the 13th gag. Let's Get Dangerous, the overt backdoor pilot for the Darkwing Duck spin-off. Again, I did a video, feel free to check it out.
He knows a lot about this one thing.
The First Adventure, where you get to see Scrooge's first adventure with Della and Donald.
We'll find that papyrus someday.
Yeah, we will! Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy!
And the show's second and final Christmas episode, How Santa Stole Christmas, where we finally find out why Scrooge hates Santa Claus, who is brilliantly played by Hugh Bonneville.
Scroogey, with your belt so tight, won't you fly my sleigh tonight?
And thus we arrive at the series finale, that very appropriately titled The Last Adventure. All 3 seasons have been building up to this 3-parter, where Fowl's years of planning and preparation finally come to fruition. And in spite of the Ducks preparing for the oncoming attack, they were not prepared for this.
Wait, what?
And why would Bradford and Fowl clone Webby? You see, Bradford's goal is to stop Scrooge from adventuring, as his adventures invite chaos. And the only way to make him stop is by making him sign a magically binding contract on the Papyrus of Binding. But the only one who can acquire the papyrus is the heir of Clan McDuck, who doesn't exist because Scrooge has never had children. So Fowl cloned him. That's right, Webby and her secret sisters May and June are Scrooge's clones. Oh yeah, this twist is extra twisty. Oh, and by the way, May is played by Ricky Lindholm. So there's your little Garfunkel and Oates reunion. So everyone, and I mean everyone, assembles to take on Bradford and Fowl. But in the end, it is Louis' deviousness that saves the day, as he is the one that sees the one loophole in Bradford's allegedly perfect contract, which states that he will be safe with his family as long as he gives up adventuring. But as we have learned for the past 3 years, family is the greatest adventure.
I will not lose to Scrooge!
Oh, Bradford, hoisted by your own petard.
Final verdict.
Folks are always quick to roll their eyes at reboots and remakes, but this is one occasion where the creators got it right. Not only did they match the magic and fun of the original series, but they massively improved upon it. As great as the original show is, it is still terribly dated, especially when it comes to the characters, as most of them are pretty one-dimensional. This show gave us fully realized and developed versions of these characters that we could relate and get invested in, paired with awesome, epic stories filled with thrills and heart. If anything, Ducktales 2017 should be listed as a prime example of how to properly do a reboot. 10 points on the badassitude meter. Pop open a can of pep, set Ottoman Empire to record, and give it a watch. Until next time, I'm Erod, and I'm the Blockbuster Buster.